Hey, Jatin. Hey, Kat. Thanks for coming on to our podcast.
Hello.
So, today we're going to talk about interracial relationships and marriages. So, let's jump right into it. So, you guys have been together for 11 years. Wow. So, first of all, amazing. How old were you when you guys met for the first time?
I wasn't so young, but you were young. How old were you? We actually
I was 18,
18 and I was 21.
21.
21
Yeah.
when we met.
Wow. And how did you guys meet?
You want me to talk?
Yeah.
Okay. So, I mean, this is the part you like to talk on normally.
Okay,
All right,
I'll do it.
you do it.
So we were both studying abroad in Rome. He was studying there full time for 4 years. I was studying abroad for a semester. And I saw him during orientation and I couldn't say anything. Like, love at first sight. I was sick to my stomach, couldn't say anything. Whole semester, I didn't say anything to the guy, but I added him on Facebook. Like, old school, like sliding into the DMs. I added him on Facebook. You added me back. And then I saw that he was like 17 years old. And I was like, all right, I don't think this is going to work. He's really young. So my semester ended. I came back to New York and it was your birthday. And I said, happy birthday on Facebook.
You hadn't left yet. Remember?
I was about to. I was
Yeah.
like,
She
throw
was.
him a bone, see what happens. I knew I was
Yeah.
too shy to do it. I'm like, I know I'm going to leave. But
Yeah, a day before she leaves to go back home, she comments on one of my pictures.
yeah, you're so
She's like,
cute.
"You're so cute." I'm like, "Who's this?" And then I see that there you are. I'm like, the university I'm going to, and I haven't seen this girl anywhere. And just so happens that she's in none of my classes
Yeah.
whatsoever, right? But interestingly, I think all the girls that she went to FIT with, who
Were
were
in
studying
his
abroad with
class.
her, were in my math class.
And they knew I loved him. They also knew you were like 10 years old, but they knew I loved you. And they were like, your boyfriend's in my class. Your boyfriend's in my class.
So you guys meet and you start dating online, and then you guys meet again, and you realize, okay, I really like this person. So from there, where do you get to a point where you meet each other's parents?
Yeah.
It was pretty quick.
How
So
quick, how quick was it? How many months are we talking?
So when she visited me that September is when she met because I was like,
yeah, I met his parents in September
yeah.
when I met him.
So
And
at
that
this point, you are how many months into knowing each other and liking?
9.
Well,
9 months.
9 months,
Yeah.
so virtually 9 months, and physically a few days.
Yeah, less than a week.
Wow. So 9 months virtually, a few days physically, and you are meeting each other's parents. So before you meet each other's parents, individually, what is running through your head in terms of fears, expectations, and hopes?
I think maybe, yeah, my feelings going through it was just like excited, nervous, and then kind of once I got in it, it was like, oh, this is happening.
Yeah. The sari was put onto her that
We're sorry.
like
Oh, the same day. Wait,
Same
wait.
day. Same week.
What happened? Run us through that.
Yeah. I don't remember. All of a sudden, I feel like you must have said, like, oh, mom, put a sari on her. And she did. She put like a hot pink one on me.
Your favorite color.
Yeah, I was loving it. It was like their first time, like meeting a girlfriend of yours. We all were like learning collectively and like trying to figure it out.
Yeah, it was a lot, right? So
yeah,
mom and dad never been in this role before. I've never seen them react to a person, like this before, and didn't know how she was going to react to them either. And going into it, I didn't think too much about it because my parents being Catholic, not having to deal with like the Hindu rituals, all that kind of stuff, which I thought as like, we're going to skim through this portion of it. It's not going to be much of a big deal, but they still had the expectations of the Indian parents, like a girl should still do certain things and stuff like that. So we didn't find out till
way over my head.
Yeah, till she left. And my parents had a conversation with me, like, oh, so when Kat was in the house, when she was visiting, and she would visit me quite a few times that week, why do you guys run off to your room? Why aren't you out with us? You know, and not that not anything was I wouldn't
Yeah, we
dare
just
do
like watching
anything
movies,
crazy
but
crazy inside the house, but I would be outside the room with them, and she'd be in my room. And they're like, why isn't she out here mingling with us? And it didn't occur to me back then because I hadn't really spent any time with your side of
yeah,
so I didn't understand your culture, and I didn't know what to explain my parents. You know, it was like,
yeah, it wasn't intentional, and I think it was
yeah,
like I knew
yeah,
like we hadn't been together,
yeah,
and then we were finally together, and I just felt like we were like glued. You
yeah,
know what I mean? Because I knew I was leaving.
yeah. So that didn't really know how to process
Yeah.
that, how to talk to my parents about it. So
Yeah.
mistake number one, I took it to Kat. I said, hey, my parents want you to come out and talk to them. And she's like, well, why? Like,
Not why. I was just like, oh,
yeah,
it's like that. Like they're watching. Oh, okay.
yeah,
You know,
yeah,
and then it just became a bit like you just start thinking. Maybe you get in
yeah,
your own head about it.
yeah. So I think that point, not knowing how to process it was like,
Yeah.
and then
That is a lot. That is a lot. So I'm going to like fast forward a little bit now, and so Jatin, you moved to the US on something called the fiance visa, if I'm right. Yeah. All right.
yeah,
And again, this is again a cultural conversation that you moved in with your girlfriend's parents. And at the time, you don't have a work permit in the US. You're waiting on your work permit, so you can't work either. So, again, from a cultural point of view, and I think for many cultures around the world, it's always the male who's the provider. And I'm sorry, that is the stereotype. And that's what generally people accept. So, what was that like, moving in with your girlfriend's parents and then waiting to, get your permit? And what was your reaction? What was your journey like through that? And then with your parents, can you walk us through that?
You were just
Okay.
chilling with my mom, watching the shows.
yeah. They
We were
were,
sipping mugs while I was commuting to the city. I mean, he was home a lot. Like where we used to live, it would take me a while to get
yeah,
back and forth. Where sometimes I'd get home and it was like 9 o'clock at night, and he'd be
yeah,
spending like the whole day
yeah,
with my parents and my brother if they were home. I mean,
yeah,
everybody was working, so sometimes it was
yeah.
like see yourself, but how was that?
It was tough. I won't lie there. It was just it's kind of like quarantining right now, right? But imagine not
Yeah.
having work and just staying on your ass every day and then waiting for like, all right, when is this gonna get over, right? That's kind of what it was. And then it was 7 months, but it kind of went by fast. Yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
because you spoke about, speaking to your parents every day, what did they have any views on it? Or could you feel, I mean, maybe they didn't say anything, but could you feel some kind of tension about the fact that, you've gone to live with her parents and you don't have your work permit yet? Was there anything from your parents' side that you picked up on?
Uh, it's curious to see like when things would start to pick up for us because
Mm.
with your parents is not the ideal situation. And um,
Yeah, they missed you.
they miss me more than anything. I think it
Yeah.
was, I left home when I was 21, 22, 22. And for mom, it was just like, you left us so early, you got married so early. We didn't get to see you grow up. I'm like, I'm 22 years old. Like, no, I think that part of it, now that they're getting that with Neil, I can see, I feel like I'm missing a little bit of, them growing up and all that. So getting old and stuff like that. So I get it. But yeah, that was it for the first 7 months. And then I think just having that constant contact with them was just kept it sane.
Mm. Kat, how was that for you guys to have dated for so many years and then you guys take this plunge to get married and the first thing I'm guessing you would do is figure out how to get him here on a visa.
Mhm.
So how was that for you to deciding? How did you guys decide you want to get married, and then to get Jatin to the states and to have him live with you finally after this long distance thing across the states and India? How was
Right.
that moment, and what was that like?
Well, I visited India. I visited you in Hyderabad.
At this
My first
point,
trip.
yeah, we were together already for 4 years.
Yeah.
And
And we for some reason we never talked about marriage. I think obviously we knew we were so young. Like I would think I'm not getting married until I'm like 30. I was like, I'm not 30. And so I came home and I was like, okay, this is real long distance. Like you're in India, I'm here. We're like 11 or something hours apart. This is hard. But still, I'm like, oh, booking my next trip. Your cousin got married. I came back, and then you were dropping me off to the airport, and you just looked at me and were like, I think we should get married. And I was like, okay. I mean, that's the only way we're going to be together. Like, it's the only way we're going to be together. So if we get married early, like, what the hell? So I went back, found a lawyer. Like, I feel like if I like get my mind set on something, I'm gonna figure it out. So I found a lawyer, did the whole process.
Yeah.
You spent like your last few months in India at home before you came to me.
I quit my job. I told my boss I was leaving. He's like, "Are you leaving for competition? Like, what's happening? Like, why are you leaving?"
I'm going to New York.
I
And
had
I'm never
to,
coming.
I had to make up a lie because even back then I was kind of like, I don't want to say, but it was too early for me to admit that I was getting married at the age of 22. You know,
Yeah.
so I'm leaving to go to the States for college or some nonsense. You know, and like, all right, you know, leave you.
So you finally came.
Yeah.
The next day we got married because we were on this K1 fiancé visa where you have to get married in 90 days. And my lawyer, like this, like once you submit the application, it's taking longer than normal processing times. Like get married right away. So he lands in New York. The next day we get married at City Hall. And I sent him our marriage certificate, and his process started for the green card first, and then like working documentation.
Yeah.
And then we came home because I was commuting from home.
So I want to go back a little to what Jatin said multiple times. Um, so you said, so Jatin, you got married fairly young. Both of you are fairly young. Yeah. Jatin, you were 22. Kat, you were about 25, 26 around that time. And Jatin, you were saying your mom was besides herself that you left home so early and you got married so young and you moved across the world, right? It's not like you're close by and she can just come and see you.
Yeah.
So it's safe to assume that you're close to your mom. so, so how has that been for Jatin for you? And I also want to talk to Kat about this. Your relationship with your mom. How has did that get did that get affected in any way with the fact that you moved away and you left home so young, and and she missed you?
Yeah, it was a big adjustment, up until that point. Even in college, I stayed with my parents. You know, I know in India, it's for me, my path was once I get to school, I'm away. I'm have my dorm, I'm all set. But I was almost lucky to have my parents with me during school time, and so when I left, it didn't feel like I hadn't spent enough time with them. They haven't seen me like through my college phase or whatever. Um, then I think moving here, it kind of got real for me. I said, I can't just, like you said, I can't go see her and, fly then 2 hours and go see her. I have to like fly a whole day. And by the way, if I'm taking vacation here, I have to counter for like, count for 2 extra days when I'm just flying up and down. Um, but I think we kind of grew again. My mom's relationship with me was always like, "Oh, you're still my 5-year-old kid. I'm still gonna listen to me." And I think over the course of us, the dynamics kind of changed. There was a lot of learning that happened in the time where you know uh, the things that she expected out of me as a son. Now, priority-wise, things have to change, right? Hey, I'm traveling to India next time. I'm coming with Kat. Yes, I'm coming to see you, but it's also my vacation time. I'm coming home, but I might want to go do other stuff. And for them, that like wasn't a real thing. Like, what are you talking about? When you come in here, you spend every single day with us. You have every single meal with us. And we plan things out for you. You don't have to plan anything, right? And that all those things kind of just like evolved into I don't know. It's hard to like put a finger on it, but it the conversations we have to have thereafter about how we spend time together uh, changed, and it was understanding as to, all right, Ma, I'm here, but now I'm here as a unit. I've got partner with me. You have to look at both of us as something, and it was hard for her to like kind of get past that notion of you're just my son. Now I'm now I'm a grown ass man with a wife. You can't look at me as just your son, you know. But I still love my mom the way I did back then,
Oh my gosh.
and she still yearns for me. Like when you come to India
Like
next
always
time,
on the phone. Always on the phone. Mom. Da-da-da, he's laying what oh, he's too much. It's too cute. I love that he attached to him.
yeah,
But I love
I don't know if I explained that properly, but I feel like my relationship with my mom before I left India and when I moved here, very different today. But for the healthy, for a much healthier relationship today, I would say. She does say though, when you come back to India next time, I get you want to travel, you want to do everything. You come here for like 2-3 days, and then Cat can come afterwards. You get your full
because
quota with
I
you.
tend to like I want to go here and I want to. This is the site. Like we got to go here, and they're like, wait, we're gonna eat. Sit down. Let's unpack our then you can do what you want.
Yeah.
It's interesting how that isn't the first time I have heard somebody say that.
Yeah.
Another mom say that to her son. That's actually the third time I've heard it. Actually, in context with interracial marriages, because we've been discussing interracial marriages for a couple of weeks now, leading up to talking to you guys, and this is something. It's bizarre how that pattern repeats, and which should bring me to Kat. Kat, um, in a situation like how did that make you feel? Because I think especially in India, the mom and son bond is it's intense. For the lack of a better word, it's intense. We make healthy jokes about it, all of us, especially the women. And if we have a sibling who is a boy, then you very well know who's your mom's favorite. So how was that for you? Especially from a perspective of seeing your husband,
Yeah.
so very close to his mom, and to hear his mom say that, what, it's okay if you come a little earlier, Kat can come a little later. So how were those conversations for you?
Right. I think probably maybe the first time I heard that, I was like, took it as like, oh, they don't like me or something. But me hearing that now is like, I totally understand. Like, they want to spend time with him. Like, you live with me, right? I have you every day of the year. And like, I want you to spend time with your parents and get all that in. And then when I come, we can do all the stuff because I'll still always want to do all the stuff. But, I've never had like a super serious relationship before him where I met the guy's mother. So she was the first mom I ever met. And I mean, even here, it's like moms love their sons, they're like the light of their life.
This is
An Indian son is like,
what
yeah. So, it's naiveness that kind of protected me from really even understanding what was happening.
Yeah.
But I mean, I love your relationship with your mom. I love that you respect her, like you talk to her all the time. You want to see how she's doing, and like I feel like in turn you treat me so well.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm happy that you have that. Yeah. So I mean, I love that you love your mom. If you were like, oh my god, I don't know, I don't know how I feel about that. But I think we struggled, yeah, in the beginning, and I think maybe when we got married and you made some kind of boundaries around us is what made it better. And I think maybe she saw you like, okay, he's becoming a man, he has a woman who he has to like deal with her feelings as well. It's not just we rule and that's it. Like,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? Where before, if you were
Yeah.
just like, you're her son, that's
Yeah.
it. You're doing what we're saying, and that's it.
Mm.
But it was a conversation with you too. To hey, listen, next time you go to India, this is how it is, and I think it's and for them too, like trying to understand, like okay, they have to let loose a little bit. They can't just be on top of us with certain things.
So when you
Um,
say they can't be on top of you guys, what were their expectations from you guys, and how did you maneuver that?
so I'll talk about the one time, which was a crucial time in our relationship. When we went back home to India for Christmas. It's the first time we spending Christmas in India
This is after you guys are married, like
after,
officially. Yeah.
Yeah.
and I don't think we didn't know what to expect really, but I knew what to expect from a family standpoint because I've grown up that way.
Yeah.
My family gets together once a year for Christmas. It's everybody does stuff every single day. You see each other for lunch, you see each other for dinner, so you see these people every day in and day out. I didn't realize how difficult it would be for Kat. You know, not that it was super hard.
No,
You
it
you
wasn't
like
hard. It was just, I
yeah,
think I'm one of those people who like recharges alone.
yeah,
I just need a
yeah,
minute to like get it together and then next day come back.
yeah,
So I think also with that, it was like, here we only get 2 weeks of Christmas of vacation.
yeah,
So we're saving up all our vacation to go to India.
yeah,
And then I went to India and I felt like I was working.
yeah,
I'm like, can we just like chill just a little bit? And
yeah,
no, yeah, you can't chill just a little bit. You gotta do what
yeah. So we tried to take a break from family events one of the days, and I got the biggest lecture
didn't go.
of my life. Like, hey, listen, everyone's here. Like, we're all in it. Why don't you guys want to be a part of it? And at that point, it was just like, listen, we've traveled the furthest. Okay, I'm only interested in spending time with you and dad. I don't really care, or not that I don't care. I'm not interested in spending every single part of my day with everybody else.
Yeah.
So
Quality time.
yeah,
And when it's like parties and on, you're meeting everybody's coworkers and you just want to like chill
yeah,
with your parents, watch a movie,
yeah,
I think
yeah. It was
we were hoping to get out of it. It was just like partying, like people not coming home until like 4 o'clock every night. And then just like one
and,
night that we didn't want to do it was
and it was early on too
half a night.
because I think we landed Christmas Eve and we were heavily jet lagged and every day stuff was going on and again for me I'm just like going with the flow, not realizing the impact it's having on Kat and when we got back home, that's when we decided to have that conversation. Listen, next time India happens, it's there has to be boundaries. We're gonna have a time, and I want to spend. I want it to mean something. I just don't want it to be a mess. I don't want to come there and be like worrying about stuff. It should just be carefree.
Yeah, I think the learn was there was like a frustration on their side, like
Yeah.
just this is what I'm telling you to do, just do it.
Yeah.
And you were like my wife is tired, do you think we can stay back? And they were like, I'm telling you to do this.
Yeah.
Like, why are you not listening? That learning of like, hey, he's gonna make decisions for like him and his family, I
Yeah.
think that was like a first.
Yeah.
Like the power shift is kind of going like, what do you no, you're listening to me.
Yeah.
And you were like, no, not today. But every other day, sure, maybe not today. I think that part of what was happening.
Yeah. And for them, it was hard to understand that because they're like, we've seen you up to so long. Da, da, da.
Yeah, that adds to it. They're like,
You know, so
Also, it's a new dynamic, right? And I think also for them to, I think it would be a little difficult for you as well, both of you together, to actually set a strong foot down and say, what is how it's going to be,
yes.
and just hoping that the other side listens and empathizes. It's tough.
those are
So
not
how was it after you did it? How were your parents after that?
I won't lie. There was a little bit of a lull in, because at some point they have to be like, all right, fine, this is it, and uh, I think ever since that happened, that conversation took place, we've been in a much better place. My parents get along with you a lot better because of that. I think there's boundaries there. They don't expect a lot out of of her. um, and and that's okay. It's okay to have that space and time. And they don't realize, okay, they're not physically in the same country as me, or maybe say 2 hours away from me, whatever. Her parents live also 2 hours away from us. They're in Florida. It's not like I'm going there and spending time with them, 20%. They're always in the mindset that you're with, her
You're living
family.
with her.
Like I see maybe, my brothers, my brother-in-laws and sister-in-laws, like once every 2 months, 3 months, and
4 months. Now, like,
now it's even worse. You know, it's just like, listen, I'm not leaving you guys behind. I'm still here. I'm talking to you every single day on WhatsApp. Like, just relax, you know. Um, and now, like I said, now today it's like a whole different world. It's like, why didn't I have this conversation with him back then?
Yeah.
And
I feel like, yeah, that one like moment in conversation was not about this party, but like about a lot of other things that had built up that I think you guys just finally like
yeah,
went head to head about.
oh yeah, there was more than one conversations about, just stuff that was kind of sitting there in a bubble, and
Yeah.
and it, I think we are all better for having that conversation.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Often hard conversations are essential, right?
Yeah.
If and when the two of you decide to have kids, what's that going to be like? What cultural identity do they grow up with? Because on one hand, I'm not saying it's going to make it easier, but at least both of you are from the same religious background, but culturally very different. And so what's that going to be like? And will your let's just start with that. Actually, have you had those conversations?
Yeah.
We've had them. You want to say it?
Yeah. I always so we live in New Jersey, so there's like nice kind of like Indian hubs like Edison. And whenever we go to that area, they have like all the little dancing, where everybody has dance schools with the different dance classes, and they have like all the Indian dance. And I'm like, if we ever have a daughter, she's gonna take these classes. Like,
So
I don't
she
even know
wants
what they are, but I
she
I
wants them
want
to
her to do
learn.
that.
Yeah, she wants them to learn Hindi and learn all the cultural dances. I'm
We
like,
don't even speak Hindi, but I want them to learn the
I speak
dances
Hindi.
and all this stuff. I mean, I'm like Russian, Ukrainian, and Irish, so I'm kind of like a mug. And my family's culture or history is just kind of like what we do. I don't think it's tied to like deep lineage of anything. So
Yeah, I feel like
yeah.
that's the one thing I love about Kat is that when I first met her, she was okay to have Indian food. I was like, listen, it would have been a deal breaker for me if you didn't eat Indian food.
Backtrack on that a little bit. If I was to break this down into three phases, this is questions for Kat. Was India on your radar, as a country or a region or anything before you met Jatin? And then while you were, and therefore, what was your perception of the country itself and its people, culturally or either way? And then while you and Jatin were dating and you haven't visited India yet and you haven't come down and spent time with his parents here, and then finally the third phase of now where you're in it and you have visited and you do seem to be very interested in the culture over here. So the three phases of how you've interacted with the culture that he's from.
Yeah, so I hadn't been to India before, hadn't thought about going before. But I mean, I had always wanted to see the world. My mom was a travel agent when I was a kid, so I would keep all the pamphlets for different countries and I would keep them all. So I had one for India. I knew I wanted to go, but I didn't have any plan. So it's not like I had some kind of weird obsession beforehand. I hadn't gone. But I was intrigued when I found out that you were Indian.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I think
Okay.
you might find this interesting too. We've spoken about retiring in India at some point.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
interesting. I will come back to that in a bit. I'll come back to that in a bit. But Justin, same question for you in terms of, the United States in this case, because Kat, that's where you grew up. So just for you before you met her, while you were dating, and then after.
US wasn't in my
No.
In fact, my brother as well. is not really into the US. And I almost for the same reason. I was too, okay, maybe not for the same reason. I was too India proud. I was like, I'm going to make it in India. I'm going to go back home after I graduate and I'm going to make it big there. That was my plan always. Um, and once I met you, I had to kind of open up the idea of, okay, can Kat come and survive in India? And we saw through her visits it wasn't going to be the case. So I had to almost be like, all right, you know what? I'm going to move to a certain country. I'd rather do it young. If I have to struggle,
Mm.
whatever, hurdles come my way, I'll take care of it while I'm young. I figured, if we carry on the long distance and I'm now like, the right age to marry, 28, 30, whatever.
Yeah.
Now it's too late for me to come here and try to figure myself out. So that was kind of like my thought process behind it was if I'm going, I'm gonna go now. And
Mhm.
we at that point I already knew I wanted to marry her and I was like, this is the step we have to take.
Yeah.
And after we moved to New Jersey, I feel like there's been so much more India here. Uh, they say like you find Indians here who grew up here, and they're more Indian than the people in India,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
I have people at work who their kids are going to like temples and language schools and like the cultural dances and stuff, and I'm
I'm
like,
trying to keep it.
yeah, but
Keep it.
I said,
going.
me growing up in India, I've never seen any one of my friends who've done any of that.
Right.
Have you guys
Mm.
done dancing training like till you're like 15, 16, 17 years old? I didn't hear the kids doing it. It was another situation where I wasn't working, so 4 months I was just kind of doing whatever.
Yeah.
But we kind of got a chance to like see what living together would feel like.
Yeah, that was the first
Yeah.
every day.
Yeah.
Where
Mm.
Nothing compared to how things are today, but
yeah.
we didn't know anything about living together.
Yeah.
But it was nice to kind of see that it wasn't something that fell out of the normal.
Yeah.
So the only thing I'd say is when I moved here and I had to live with her parents, that was kind of a bit of an adjustment for me.
Yeah.
Just having our space and having to share it with everybody else.
Mhm.
Although they gave us our space.
So you don't want to share space with everybody.
Hey, listen, I'm
You
not.
just want to be in the room with me.
when it's in India for 1 week, when you see my parents after a year, yes, every single day with my parents. But no, but 7 months, like doing it day in and day out was kind of like, and then Kat used to work. I think her commute was like 5 hours a day. She'd go into the city. We used to live upstate New York, and she used to work in the city. So her commute back and forth used to be nuts. So I'd be sitting at home. I'd drop her off to the train at like 6
or something,
and then she'd only come home by like 8 o'clock at night. So that whole day, I'm just sitting, twiddling my thumbs, like this is.
I know, and then I'd be like a zombie, and be like ready to go out, and I'm like.
Yeah, so that I think we almost discount those first 7 months.
Yeah.
Like heavily. Like we just wanted it to go by really quickly, and thankfully it did. I don't know what we did to make it go that fast, but
that was in India.
If that was in India,
Yeah.
It'd be me.
I think it would be easier,
Yeah.
because there'd be comforts there, and we'd be by ourselves.
Okay.
Yeah,
Would we be by ourselves?
we'd be by
You
ourselves.
get us a place.
I had a place in Hyderabad,
my
so
God.
so I think just the affordability factor, and like I think no one would care if she was working in India. I don't know. I'm making it up now, but
Yeah. I never
like,
thought about it. Like
I was terrified to even get like an under the table type of job.
yeah.
My parents had to hear I was working at McDonald's or something. They'd like,
Oh. Yeah.
so we didn't want to take a risk those first 7 months.
So, how has your dad been over the years in terms of from the get go? And did you have to set boundaries with him as well in terms of your relationship and your marriage and the entire journey so far?
I don't know if it's just me being a boy in the family that my conversations were mostly with my mom, and you expect the mom to have the conversation with the dad. But my dad, uh, he's from a very young age, I've been the one he's been very strict with, very, I've never had the relationship my brother has with my father. He's very chill with him. He'll joke with him, he'll do stuff with him. And with big deal. Like you have a glass of beer with me, like as a first drink. It was a big deal. Um, my dad doesn't think about those things sometimes. He thinks like he's out there, he's doing it his own thing, he's going to figure it out. I think that's how his parents brought him up. My grandfather was a very loving man. He's very different from my father. Um, but I don't know. Like I think we were talking about it. We were like, what if once we have kids, my dad's gonna like burst out of his bubble? He's gonna be that
I've
loving.
heard that. I've heard that. Like some people's dads who are super strict, they had like a
Yeah,
grandchild and they just like melted.
yeah,
True. Yeah.
yeah. So dad's a tough one. He's a tough cookie to crack. But I know he like the Christmas stuff that happened. The conversation was with him specifically. He kind of
Oh,
he made a move that he shouldn't have, and I have to come in and be like, "Yo, back up." you know? um, so he kind of understood his place too at that point, I think, and he's realizing that okay, again, like he's not tired anymore. He's decisions, and this is his life. He's going to run it. Uh, and this time he comes to me now. He's talking about doing so. He's retired, just retired last year. Now he's coming to me with questions because he's the outside world, outside of the military world is new for him. So he's like, oh, look this up for me. Like, what is? I'm trying to start this company. Like, what do I need to know? I'm like, all right, let's talk. Let's talk. So now, I guess now we are having this
So
conversation.
now you guys have a relationship, as in you have a new chapter where you guys are building a relationship in a way,
Yeah,
right?
I think the other thing too, like with dad being in a military base, like he's got all these people around him. He's expected to be a he can't be super friendly or I never understood that. I was super chill with my health in the home.
This is for both of you individually again. So, how do you think we can raise the bar for ourselves and in turn raise it for everybody around us that we have a relationship with? And that could be our family, our friends, the people we interact with, and strangers. What can we do better as individuals?
I think it's to have those tough talks. You know, um, no matter who that person is in front of you, you realize if you get what is in your chest off, it, the other person also will, you know, respond to it. We've certainly seen that happen work for us in our relationship. Personally, just a husband-wife thing. We're not perfect in any means, but the day we learned, like, just having those conversations, the tough ones, there's a weight that's lifted off your shoulder. It's feeling. Same thing with my parents. Like, from a interracial marriage perspective, like they had a lot of learning to do. Along with me. So it was while they were learning, I was learning, and then having to adjust with that. Now, this is the new way of living. Uh, that's, I think, for me, is the takeaway from this.
Yeah. I think probably how I would raise the bar looking back on our situation specifically, I would be more open. I feel like I'm, the kind of personality I am, a little bit stubborn, a little bit like of a hard nut to crack. And I feel like had I just maybe let people in a bit more and was open to the differences and I could see and understand instead of just saying, well, that's not how I do it, or I don't understand why that way. Taking the minute to actually say, okay, so this is how, your relationship was with your mother-in-law. And so this is what happened. So I get it. I think I was just very like walled up a bit. And I think looking back, being more open would have helped. So I think maybe just people in general, like being more open to each other and maybe sensitive to other people's feelings.
Yes.
Yeah. I think on a side note, for again the interracial marriage thing, the foreigner in the relationship, the non-Indian person, right? Watch a lot of Bollywood movies. It's going to help you ton because the expectations thing comes right up there. And all the classics, the
I
classics.
don't know why I was surprised.
Don't watch any of the new stuff. Watch the classics. And then,
The courage of her golden years. Oh, that's good advice. Thank you so much, Jatin and Kat. We had an amazing time talking to you. And thanks for sharing your story. It was very
Yes.
sweet and very nice.
I think that when really, it's been 11 years, so thinking back to this stuff, I'm like a lifetime ago.
It was. Thank you for finding us. I don't
Thank
know
you, guys.
about this thing for
Thank
you
you
guys.
so much.
We're happy
Like
to.
you just did a namaste.
Hopefully, people can.
Yeah.
Hey there! Thank you for tuning in to this week's episode of Raise the Brow. If you like what you heard, please share it with your friends. And don't forget to follow us on Instagram and YouTube for all future episodes.